Okay, well, thanks you guys for getting on the call here tonight. Welcome. My name is Wendy Erdman, and I am a retired nurse and a marketing director with the Juice Plus company. And I am here with my friend Katie. If you want to wave, Katie. Katie is just an amazing homeschool mom of two beautiful girls. She's married to Rick. They are a military family for which we are so grateful for their service. Katie also has a master's in Spanish education, and she is also a wellness coordinator for the Juice Plus company. And we are going to be adding a video tonight. A colleague of ours who is a pharmacist, Casey Sloss. And Casey is amazing. She does an incredible job explaining everything autoimmune. If you could be sure to mute your line. I'm going to go ahead and mute a couple people here. Okay, there we go. But she does an amazing job talking about autoimmune diseases. So we're going to bring her in and play something for you. She's going to be talking about what is an autoimmune disease, why does it happen, can it be reversed, and what is the role that nutrition plays with these diseases that are so prevalent today. Did you guys know that 20% of our population in the United States has an autoimmune disease? I was shocked when I heard that, and I'm telling you, it never used to be that way. When I was working 30 years ago in the hospital, there was maybe a handful of autoimmune situations going on, diseases going on, but now there are over 100 different types, and they're very difficult to diagnose. Usually it takes a number of doctors to diagnose them because it's often different organ systems, and so often it's not just one autoimmune disease, it's a cluster of autoimmune diseases. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what's going on with the body. But as we'll be hearing about tonight, it has to do with the gut, our microbiome, our leaky gut syndrome leading to so much of these autoimmune conditions. So what are really common autoimmune diseases today? We have Hashimoto's, very common, Raynaud's disease, Crohn's, even just having really bad allergies are immune related, lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, asthma, celiac disease, rheumatoid arthritis, eczema, psoriasis, and that is just to name a few. Okay, there's just so many. Scleroderma, very, very common today too in our country. So I'd like to share a little bit of my journey with you through autoimmune disease. It began about 30 years ago. I was working as a nurse in the hospital in a medical surgical unit, and I just started feeling exhausted. It got more and more difficult for me to get to work, and when I was at work, I was having a lot of back pain, a lot of pain throughout my body in different places, and with the exhaustion and the pain, I just eventually had to stop working. I also was dealing with a lot of irritable bowel syndrome. So that in and of itself is a really difficult thing to have. You always have to know where a bathroom is at any given moment. So even going out is difficult. I had chronic allergies that would lead to sinus infections, a lot of sinus issues all the time going on with me very often. And then it would land in bronchitis, and I would find myself needing to be on steroids or antihistamines and just clearing up that type of thing quite often. And through the years, I just felt like I was spiraling down. Everything was getting, more and more difficult for me. And you know what my ammunition was as a nurse? Medication, right? So I was so proud of our medicine cabinet. I thought I could help anybody with anything to cover the symptoms and take care of those symptoms. Let's go ahead and be sure we're muted. Let me see if I see anybody else. Okay, I think we're good. So that's what the doctors had told me was my only answer for the rest of my life, is you're going to need to be on these medications. But when they mentioned steroids, I knew that I was not going to take steroids. I had read enough, I had seen enough, and that was not going to be my answer. So for me, it was a desperate cry to God for help. At that point, I was battling depression. I was having major anxiety issues, which are both very common with autoimmune diseases. And at that point forward, I was amazed at what I felt like I was guided to. I was talking to people who ate healthy and, why they ate healthy. I was just so curious to know. It was like this veil was lifted. I was reading books on nutrition, and I couldn't believe what I was finding. I was understanding what our cells were designed for in order to flourish, and what they weren't designed for. And a lot of what they weren't designed for is what I was consuming. So started making simple changes over time. But the most profound change happened for me when I was going to my chiropractor, and they were one of the couples we were talking to nutrition about a lot at church. And he told me of a simple way to flood my body with 45 different plant foods. And we're going to be learning more about that tonight. It's called Juice Plus. And within a few months, my irritable bowel, I would say a month or two, the irritable bowel syndrome had cleared up for me, which in and of itself, again, was just so amazing that was gone. And then I noticed my allergies. They just weren't as bad. They weren't leading to an infection, right out of the gates. And so I just was like, wow, okay, I think I'm doing better. I think I'm feeling a little more energy. And it was about 8 to 10 months that I realized that the autoimmune disease was going away. And I would say after a year, it was gone. So I felt like basically I'd been given my health back again, my life back again. And so now I just am so grateful. I just want to pay this message forward. I feel like there is hope, there is answers. So I don't know where you are in your battle, possibly with this autoimmune disease. I don't know if you have a loved one who's battling this, but I want to tell you, and I'm here to tell you, that there is hope. And I think you're going to understand why after you hear this message tonight. But that's why I joined this amazing company. We inspire healthy living around the world. And so, we do genuinely care about helping those who are in need and those who are looking for answers. If you are ready for answers, I really believe you're going to learn some new things tonight. So we hope you find this to be helpful. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to bring Casey in to share her message with us tonight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. You are here because obviously you're interested in learning about autoimmune disease, the impact it has, and the why behind it, and most importantly, what you can do to get your system back under control. Because believe it or not, there are things you can do, and I hope you leave this webinar feeling empowered to get to the root of the problem, start to heal your body from the inside out, and prevent future problems. So my name is Casey Schloss, and I graduated from the University of Missouri, Kansas City with my doctorate degree in pharmacy in 2010, and I went on to manage a busy community pharmacy in my hometown where we dispensed around 1,500 to 2,000 prescriptions a week in a town of about 10,000 people. And for as long as I can remember, I've been intrigued by how the human body works and why people get sick. So I developed and implemented our independent clinical program. Then I went on to become a clinical pharmacist for a larger pharmacy chain, became the clinical point person, and led the clinical programs for 34 stores in Missouri and Illinois. In total, I spent 13 years in community pharmacy. Then in 2014, something changed. Something really started to change inside. And it was really prompted by the realization that my pharmacy patients weren't getting any better. Sure, some of them may have benefited from the contemporary medicine, but as a whole, they seemed to just be getting worse and worse. And it led me to question why. And really, what does it mean to be healthy? To treat for more of a holistic approach? Even what does it mean to prevent disease? So you can say I shifted, I guess, to more of a functional pharmacy approach, which is more of a healing-oriented approach that takes into account the whole person, including all aspects of lifestyle. We're taught in pharmacy school how to identify potential side effects of medications, to make recommendations based on patient symptoms, and to manage or treat conditions, but not prevent them. But I started to think, what if there's more? What if I could teach patients or clients how lifestyle and nutrition could stop, if not reverse, some chronic diseases? More of an approach based on treating underlying causes rather than just symptoms. So basically, it's like treating the fire and not the smoke, if you will. And I think a big part of this is because of my own health history from childhood, and I'm going to share more with you about that later. And here you'll see a picture of my family. That's my husband, Chris, our daughter, Kim, who is 3, and our son, Will, who is 2. So I want to start by addressing, why are we talking about autoimmune disease? If you or a loved one battles this, you know how difficult it can be. Researchers have identified 80 to 100 different autoimmune diseases and suspect at least 40 additional diseases having an autoimmune basis. And these are chronic and they can be life-threatening. You know, autoimmune disease is one of the top 10 leading causes of death in female children in all age groups up to 64 years of age. The NIH estimates that 23.5 million Americans suffer from autoimmune disease and that the prevalence is rising. The AARDA estimates twice that number. So they say 50 million Americans. That is so many people. And why the difference? Why the 23.5 and 50 million? Why the difference there? Well, the NIH numbers only include 24 of the autoimmune diseases for which we have good epidemiology studies available. As you can imagine, the health costs that are associated with accounting. So according to NIH, $100 billion is spent in the U.S. on autoimmune disease annually. Compare that to cancer, which has an annual direct healthcare cost of $57 billion. So obviously, this is a very, very big problem today. The list of autoimmune diseases is pretty daunting. This is just a small list here of the most commonly known ones, like celiac disease, multiple sclerosis or MS, type 1 diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, which consists of colitis and Crohn's, thyroid disease such as Graves' and Hashimoto's, psoriasis, and rheumatoid arthritis or RA. What's more, some experts regard autoimmunity to be more of like a spectrum disorder. And what we mean by that is that the fully diagnosed identifiable disease state just being one arbitrary point on that spectrum. Most of us probably fall somewhere on the spectrum and have some degree of autoimmune dysfunction, some less, some more so. So we should really all be paying attention whether we have a diagnosis or not, because autoimmune dysfunction is likely happening well in advance of any noticeable symptoms. So I want to talk, before we can really talk about what goes wrong with autoimmune disease, we first need to take a look at how the immune system works. Go back a slide here. So we can take a look at how the immune system works. And I know this is a really busy slide. It is not important that you fully understand it or even partially understand it, but know that the job of the immune system is to defend against foreign invaders. So it's like having your own personal built-in security system. And the only job of this built-in security system is to keep you safe. So the security system consists of all kinds of specialized immune cells like T cells, B cells, macrophages, all of which are on alert for something that doesn't belong in your body or in your bloodstream. And when a threat is perceived, instructions are really simple. Take it out. So when the system is working well, it does keep you safe, or at least safe from illnesses caused by unfriendly microbes. So what causes autoimmunity then? Autoimmunity occurs when your immune system gets confused and your own tissues get caught in this friendly crossfire. So when your immune system attacks the myelin sheath that covers your nerves, for instance, it's called multiple sclerosis or MS. When it attacks the thyroid, it's Hashimoto's thyroiditis. When it attacks the glands that produce tears and saliva, it's Sjogren's syndrome. When it attacks cells and tissues all throughout the body, affecting anything from the joints all the way to the heart, it might be lupus. So autoimmune conditions are connected by one central biochemical process, and that's a runaway immune response, also known as systemic inflammation. You're going to hear a lot about that tonight. And this is that one central process that then leads to oxidative stress, and that results in your body attacking its own tissues. So that's how autoimmune diseases often work. Something triggers inflammation, but then the oxidative stress that goes hand in hand with inflammation, it really increases faster than what your internal antioxidant army can keep up with. So what I want to talk about now is something that is really, really fascinating. And this is where it gets really important. So the emerging research on autoimmune, and likely the future of research on autoimmune, is all centered around gut health. And I want to talk a little bit about gut health and its role in autoimmune disease, because here is where you and we have a lot of control. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Many factors contribute to the development of autoimmune diseases. You know, shown here are genetics, immune cells, like we talked about, and the gut microbiome. And these have arrows pointing toward immune diseases, although each factor can be influenced by the others. So this emerging research supports that the gut bacteria influence various immune cells in autoimmune diseases. So what is this microbiome in our bodies that we all have? The human body is colonized by a vast number of microbes, and they're collectively named the microbiota. So recent studies suggest that there are at least as many microbial cells as human cells in our bodies. And in terms of genes, microbial genes outnumber human genes by a ratio of 100 to 1. And I know when I heard that, I totally could not believe it. It is becoming increasingly clear that our overall health and our well-being is profoundly linked to this massive population of bacteria that reside in our gut. This is all going to make sense in a little bit. But these microorganisms that colonize our bodies and their genetic material, the microbiome, are essential for life. They have co-evolved with us, and they live in an innate relationship with us that's absolutely vital to normal health. So the biggest populations of microbes reside in our gut, where they aid in digestion, they prevent infection by pathogens, they produce certain vitamins to educate our immune system on what to fight. Although it's well recognized that the gut microbiota contributes to normal immunity, scientists are really still unraveling the ways in which things can go wrong and lead to disease. But autoimmune disease in particular, one of the fastest growing causes of disability and death in the US, has been strongly connected to the health of the human microbiota. In fact, get this. This is so fascinating. There was a study done at Yale University recently, and researchers discovered that the gut bacteria could spontaneously translocate. So I'm talking about how this gut bacteria that is right down your digestive tract can move from the gut to the liver, to the spleen, to the lymph nodes. And once it's in these different tissues, the bacteria then stimulates the production of autoantibodies and causes inflammation that we've been talking about. These are hallmarks of autoimmune response. So basically, after telling you all of this, what you need to know is that our gut health matters. It matters so much, and by improving it, we can improve our overall health, including those with autoimmune disease. So now I want to go back to that genetics part really quick, because it is so important for us to realize that our DNA is not our destiny. In fact, it's like less than 1% of the equation. Lifestyle is more and more of a critical factor. So the microbe is it's likely that this microbe is really what's leading to our destiny right now. So for the remainder of tonight, what I'm going to talk about in this webinar is mostly focusing on nutrition to improve this gut health, to decrease that inflammation and decrease the oxidative stress burden on our bodies. So let's talk really briefly from my perspective as a pharmacist about the problem with current treatment. And I think that we can all agree with the statistics that we looked at earlier, there is clearly a problem with current treatment when it comes to autoimmune disease. And it goes back to what I said about treating the fire and not the smoke. Like, if you want to cool off inflammation in the body, you've got to find the source. Healthcare professionals are trained to shut off inflammation with anti-inflammatory medications, like think about Advil, Motrin, even steroids, and even increasingly more powerful medications, things that suppress the immune system, and they have serious side effects. But what we're not trained to do is to find and treat underlying causes of inflammation and chronic disease. So gut health, hidden allergens, infections, environmental toxins, an inflammatory diet, stress, these are the real causes of these inflammatory conditions. And these are often addressed by powerful immune suppressing meds and not by addressing the cause. So what I'm talking about is more of a functional medicine approach, and that teaches us to treat the cause, not just the symptoms, and to ask the questions, why are you sick? Not only what disease do you have? So now I want to clarify, I am not anti-medicine. I'm not. But unfortunately, many of the conventional treatments available can really make you feel worse. Anti-inflammatory drugs like Advil, steroids, these immune suppressing drugs like methotrexate, and even these new TNF-alpha blockers, if you're familiar with them, like Enbrel and Remicade, they can lead to intestinal bleeding, they can lead to kidney failure, depression, psychosis, osteoporosis, muscle loss, diabetes, not to mention overwhelming infection and even cancer. I'm not saying that to scare you, but this is real. We need to talk about this stuff. When used selectively, these drugs really can help people get their lives back, but they're not a long-term solution. They should not be used. They shouldn't be the end of treatment, but instead they should be a bridge to cool off that inflammation while we really dig in and treat the root cause of the disease. So it's like this quote from Dr. Mark Hyman from the Cleveland Clinic, and I love this, when he was discussing autoimmune diseases. He said, these are often addressed by powerful immune suppressing medications and not by addressing the cause. That's like taking a lot of aspirin while you're standing on a tap. The treatment is not more aspirin or a strong immune suppressant, but removing the tap. So that's what I'm talking about.
You guys, I'm going to fast forward through Regina's story. She has Hashimoto's thyroid disease and was barely getting out of bed, started flooding her body with the 45 different plant foods, and is doing fantastic. She went from 23 meds down to 3, but we're going to jump in here because it's really, really hard to hear her story. It's just very quiet. So we're going to catch up here with Casey again.
Hear that from 23 medications down to 3, from not being able to get out of bed. Some days are just feeling, really difficult to get out of bed and get going, to now being able to get out on the football field with her son and help with warm-ups. I absolutely love her story. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, so we are so inspired by that. And I want to dive briefly, I want to dive briefly into this functional approach and just touch on 4 key areas. And most of these, you guys, will not surprise you, but you would be surprised to see how much they can impact your health. Any real effective treatment plan has to include every aspect of life. The organ that's affected, like the place where you actually see and feel symptoms, is the sole focus in conventional medicine, but it's just the starting point for a functional approach to autoimmune disease. This functional approach goes way beyond simply managing symptoms with harsh pharmaceuticals. It actually offers a message of hope, and that's what we're about tonight. So the first is exercise, and regularly, because it's natural anti-inflammatory. Next, reduce stress by finding ways to relax every day. And I know when we lead these busy lives, this isn't always easy, but try things like taking a hot bath or getting a massage, because stress worsens the immune response. Third, think toxins. They're everywhere, and we are exposed to them in all sorts of combinations. And at some point, the cumulative effect overwhelms the body's ability to fight back, and that weakens immunity even further. So we need to fight back with antioxidant-rich foods. So we need to be eating at least 10 to 13 servings of vegetables every single day. And I don't mean just sometimes or maybe 1 or 2 days a week, but every single day. And some experts say it's more like 9 to 13 servings. And if you're an athlete or you have a disease process, we need upwards of 16 to 18 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables every single day just to protect us. And then finally, number 4, we're back to cleaning up our gut, which I talked to you about already. But the lining of the intestines is, amazingly, it's not very thick. So if you think of it as this thin layer of cloth that protects the bloodstream from particles that don't belong, sometimes there's tears in that cloth. The lining of the gut is said to leak, if you will. So this allows, that leak can allow bigger, less digested particles to get through and go into the bloodstream. The immune system looks at these molecules and it really calls out the troops. So then this cycle of inflammation, leaky gut, more inflammation just continues. And that right there is why healing the gut is so high on the list of priorities for functional medicine approach to autoimmunity. And briefly, I want to touch on gluten. It's the culprit in celiac disease. You know, it's ubiquitous in our diet. It's inflammatory for many people. And I'm sure you know people, if not you yourself, who have an intolerance to gluten. And this can lead to a further decline in our gut health. So that leads me right into this program and these products that I'm so excited to share with you tonight. And I know Regina mentioned them in her story, but the Shred 10 program and the Juice Plus products are changing lives all over the world. This program covers every one of those areas that we discussed and more. You know, we live in such a polluted world that we absolutely cannot eat enough fruits and vegetables, and that's where Juice Plus comes in. And then the Shred 10 program really takes it to the next level because Juice Plus is acting as that catalyst for change. But in this lifestyle program, we make important changes that really help the body detoxify on a daily basis. And this program fits in perfectly for anyone with autoimmune disease, and it helps really to get your body back into balance. You know, when you think about it, autoimmune disease can take years off your life, but sometimes even worse, or can take, it can take years off your life, but sometimes worse, it can take life off your years. And some people are living the majority of their life with an autoimmune disease that is greatly affecting their quality of life, like what Regina was telling us about. And I personally have an autoimmune disease, and I was really sick growing up. And that is why this topic is so near and dear to my heart, because at 14, I was diagnosed with ITP, which is an autoimmune disorder. And that led me to having my spleen removed. And I went through so much, a ton of doctor visits, a lot of hospitalizations, treatments, and what I say is more medication than a whole family should ever have an entire lifetime. And after having my spleen removed, I battled for 16 more years due to a weakened immune system. I continued to get sick often. You know, if you think about it as a pharmacist, you're really exposed to sick people every single day. But I had a severe lack of energy that I was trying to fix with Red Bull and diet soda. And my body was just unhealthy. I would swell in my ankles and my feet, and I would bloat up after every meal. And I knew I didn't want to end up on lifelong medication like so many of my patients. And ultimately, I had to make a change. My husband, who's also a doctor of pharmacy, he and I started juicing every day because all the research we did led us back to knowing we needed a healthy diet rich in fruits and vegetables, and we needed that every day. And we did that, the juicing thing, for about 6 months, but it just was not sustainable for us given the cost, the taste, and the time that it took. And that is when I found Juice Plus. And it made sense to us immediately because of the research. So we got started right away. So what is it exactly? You might be wondering. So it's a variety of 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries in capsule or chewable form. It's also a full spectrum plant-based omega and a vegan, low glycemic, gluten-free, dairy-free, plant-based protein blend that you can use to make shakes or smoothies. And some of the things that really stand out to me as a healthcare professional are it's made with vine-ripened produce. So produce is actually at the peak of nutrition. It's also tested for purity. It's tested for nutrient content. It's bioavailable. So what does this mean? It means it actually gets into the bloodstream. This is very different than vitamins, which I've heard to be called basically expensive urine because they actually don't get in your bloodstream. But it's also the most thoroughly researched nutritional product in the world. And I'll get into that in just a bit. But even more so, it's affordable and it's convenient. So talk about feeding the good bacteria in our gut. This makes improving gut health achievable and simple. You know, we need to understand that inflammation all throughout our body has to do with the inflammation in our gut. And our bodies can heal when we heal the inflammation in our gut. So Juice Plus is actually a prebiotic. So it's feeding the good bacteria inside our gut. What we have in the complete shake is that it's complete. So it has starches and it has fiber that really feed our microbiota. And our bacteria feed on these resistant starches, and the complete help make everything work properly, like what I was talking about earlier. So it's really important that we combine all of these things together. And when we do, we have 45 different plants coursing through our bodies every single day. So the power of plants to reduce systemic inflammation is just so important. You know, today with Juice Plus, we have 4 clinical studies showing that we can change the factors of inflammation in the right direction when we take the Juice Plus products. And it's not just that. It's not just about inflammation. We have 38 studies today proving what it does in the human body. Another important area of research shows that Juice Plus supports key measures of immune system function. So that absolutely relates to autoimmune. Remember what we talked about earlier with our immune cells being out of balance? Well, Juice Plus is proven to bring those B cells and T cells back into balance after about 80 days. And remember that oxidative stress we talked about earlier too. Juice Plus is also proven to reduce oxidative stress in the body. And then there's one last area I want to touch on with the research on Juice Plus. Remember when I said that our genes aren't our destiny, they are not our destiny? Like I said, I'm not saying genetics aren't important, but what I'm saying is what's more important is nutrigenomics. And that means how can nutrition bring out the best from our DNA? So when they, in the research, in the clinical studies, when they looked at how Juice Plus affects our genes, they found it impacted over 1,500 different genes, actually down-regulated inflammatory genes. This is insanely impressive. Now, our nutrition and our lifestyle can actually turn off and on our genes, and our research proves that. So this research is gold standard research. It's done at prestigious institutions, and it's published in peer-reviewed medical journals. So back to my story. When we started Juice Plus, within the first 2 to 3 weeks of starting, I had natural energy. It was amazing. I no longer needed the diet soda or energy drinks to get through my long days at work as a pharmacist. Then came improved gut health. So my belly stopped bloating after meals. My bowel movements became regular after a lifetime of constipation. And then in the next 3 to 6 months came improved allergies, sinuses, sugary cravings were greatly reduced. And for the first time in my life, my immune system can actually fight for itself. I was able to completely get off of 2 prescription and 2 over-the-counter medications that I've been taking every day because I've been battling sinus congestion, drainage, frequent upper respiratory infections, but the symptoms were gone. And now I actually crave healthier foods. So I don't eat perfectly. If you know me, you know that. But the food I eat now is totally different than what it was before. And as far as my immune system goes since starting Juice Plus, this is the healthiest 5 years that I've had in my entire life. And now I'm 36. So I no longer get sick like I used to, and my immune system is stronger than ever. I don't feel like I'm compromised just because I don't have a spleen or because I have an autoimmune disorder. Anytime I feel like I'm coming down with something, I just take extra capsules because we know that more antioxidants only helps. So one other thing I want to touch on briefly is how I use Juice Plus as my prenatal nutrition, my sole prenatal nutrition, because of the research proving, like I said earlier, that it gets into the bloodstream. We couldn't, as my husband and I, both pharmacists, couldn't find one prenatal vitamin with any research on it. actual research in the human body. And we had 2 super healthy, we're so grateful for very healthy, uneventful pregnancies. And our 2 kiddos now are very healthy as well. And this is something, like I said, we're absolutely grateful for, because coming from parents who battle with their health, you know, my kiddos, their dad, my husband, he as a child, he had recurrent ear infections and tubes in his ears twice. And then me having an autoimmune disorder, we know this is one of the greatest gifts that we can give them, just really setting them up for a lifetime of success with their health. And today our whole family takes all the products every single day. We start with a complete shake or a smoothie. We open the capsules for our kids and pour them in, and they drink it. We snack on the chewables, the bars, and we do the shred program together every month as a family. And I love this program because it's sustainable, because it's healthy and it's family friendly. It's exactly what our bodies need, and the support and our groups and the ebooks and the resources, they all make it so easy for a busy mom like myself to plan and cook meals for my family to keep us on track. So in closing, first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining us, whether you're on here live or you're catching the replay. And I want to ask that you share this message with anyone you know who is battling autoimmune disease, and get with the person who shared this with you to get your questions answered. My wish for you is that you take proactive action starting now for yourself and your family to get yourself in the direction of getting your system back under control. And remember that knowledge is power, but knowledge without action is useless. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay, awesome information. Wow, I just love how she just flows through all of that. I hope you found it to be helpful. Katie, I'm going to turn it over to you to have you share your story and to close the call for us.
Okay, great. Hey, everybody. My name is Katie. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope that the main thing that you heard from Casey was that our gut health is central to the entire health of our body. And really healing your gut is the gateway to good health. And I've been learning that over the past number of years. About 5 years ago, my body pretty much fell apart. We were living in a very stressful period of our lives. It was just a perfect storm of stress. And I think my body just started taking on a lot of that stress. I had 7 colds in 8 months. So that was one indicator that my immune system was just shot. And then I started having symptoms like IBS and gynecological symptoms. I had these painful sores on my tongue. And then the last thing that hit, which was the worst, was just debilitating fatigue. And kind of like a lightheadedness that would come with it. And I was just wiped out. It was hard to get out of bed in the morning. My homeschool mom, I had 2 little girls. They were really small at the time. It was hard just to get up and get through the day. So providentially, I found a functional medicine doctor who said, let's look at the root causes of what's really going on here. And after a number of months of testing, she diagnosed me with leaky gut, which is basically what the lady in the video was describing. Was a leaky gut. And that's where the foods that you have eaten have damaged your small intestine. And they are leaking into your bloodstream and causing things just to go awry. And there's a myriad of different symptoms that you can have, and I was having a few of those. So we looked at, I did ask her, is this an autoimmune disease? And she said, no, not yet. But if you do not fix this, if we don't heal your gut, you will have an autoimmune disease. So we really need to take care of this problem. So we talked about how much are you sleeping and drinking water and exercising. I was doing all those things fairly well. I wasn't handling stress well. We talked about that. And then we talked about my diet. And I thought I ate healthily because I really do love fruits and vegetables. And I would cook every day. But as she put me on an elimination diet, I realized I do eat a lot of sugar. I was processing that, I thought fairly well. So I would just eat it and enjoy it. And also there was just a lot of processed foods in our house. So as I did this diet, I realized, okay, I'm having too much sugar and too much processed foods. I started to eliminate a lot of things and got my diet under control. And then I was taking a lot of supplements. So after a few months, I followed this protocol that she gave me. I followed it very strictly. And after a number of months, I didn't see much change. And I was researching and reading, what did other functional medicine doctors say about leaky gut. They pretty much all agreed with what my doctor had prescribed for me, but still there was no change. And it was really, really discouraging to feel like I'm doing everything that I'm being told to do, and I still feel really awful, like I'm hardly functioning, hardly surviving. In the middle of all that, the Air Force moved us back to Dayton, Ohio. And I found a new functional medicine doctor and more tests and more expensive supplements and not a whole lot of change. Some of my early symptoms had lessened, but the horrible fatigue was always there. And so I saw Wendy one morning at church, and I remembered when we had lived before here, we were members of the same church, and I remember that she had some sort of autoimmune thing going on way back when. So I asked her, do you know what leaky gut is? And she said, yes. And I thought, oh my goodness, nobody knows what that is. This is great. And I said, will you help me? And she said, yes. And so we got together that week, and she started to explain to me that in her research, what she had discovered was that our bodies really need 8 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. We need these huge quantities of produce. And it feels kind of impossible, right, to eat that many fruits and vegetables. And if you're sick, you really need more like 13 to 15 servings. And so she told me about these capsules that were fruits and vegetables and berries in the capsules. It's called Juice Plus. And she was using that to bridge the gap between what she was eating, the number of servings she was eating, and then, to get the servings that her body really needed. And she showed me the research. I loved that. And I loved that there was research showing that Juice Plus is actually absorbed into your bloodstream, because I was taking all these expensive supplements and wondering the whole time, are these really like doing anything? Are they even being absorbed? So I love that there was research, and I love that it's the most researched nutritional product in the world. That made me feel good about taking it. So I decided to try it for 1 year and see what happened. And after about 8 months or so, all those, the fatigue and all those other symptoms started to slowly just drift away. And I was starting to have energy and feel good, and like I was actually living my life and not just surviving the day. After 3 to 4 months, though, I noticed that my immune system was so much stronger. I wasn't catching every cold that was going around. I was so much stronger. And there's a program that Juice Plus has called Healthy Starts, where you can, if an adult takes Juice Plus and a child can take it for free. And I put Maggie on that, one of my daughters on that with me, and I noticed that her immune system was so much stronger, and she wasn't catching colds all the time. And if she did catch something, it lasted for like 2 or 3 days instead of the dreaded 10-day thing that just never seems to end. So I could tell, that it was really benefiting her as well. So it was really interesting that all this time I had eliminated foods, but until I added Juice Plus, I really hadn't added any nutritional components. So I think it was good what I was doing, the eliminating and the watching of what was coming in, but I really I was not able to heal until I added this real nutrition, this other component. This is something that no medical doctor had told me. I had not read it in anything in my research, but my friend Wendy had shared this with me. And it was like a gift, really, that she gave to me. And I feel like I'm still opening that gift. I'm still learning about nutrition, still learning more. But it's like a message of hope, and also a message of prevention, because there's a lot of people out there who are sick and feel terrible. And I certainly had months where I felt terrible, and I just thought, who can help me? This feels hopeless and helpless. And I wonder still today, who needs to hear this message? And I think that's what compels me to share it, is that just knowing how bad I felt all those months. And I don't want other people to go through that and struggle. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to share my screen here. You guys can see a free resource that Juice Plus offers. It's called the Healthy Living Revolution. You can go to healthylivingrevolution.com and scroll down here, and there's a cookbook that you can look through and download. It has a lot of wonderful recipes, healthy recipes. Also, if you go to the live webinar, there is a webinar for the month. This month was let's see. But if you go down here below, it says previous episodes, and it's a whole library of really awesome webinars. And you can scroll through these, lots of different topics, lots of different doctors giving their professional opinion. So anyway, just want to show you guys where that is in the Healthy Living Revolution. Also, you can go to resources and you can find the cookbook and the videos that I was showing you. And also there's a fitness series, some fitness videos that are excellent. Yoga, Pilates, all sorts of cool things there. So I wanted to just show you guys that. It's free. You can look around on there, see what you like, what's interesting to you. So anyway, we would love to talk with you further about how to heal your gut, how to get extra nutrition, how to have this gift of Juice Plus in your life, heal yourself further. We would love to answer your questions or help you get started. Encourage you to talk to the person who invited you to come tonight and help you with any questions you have. Also, Wendy does free medical consultations. So if you would like to do that, it doesn't obligate you to anything, but it's free. If you want to talk with her, then talk with the person that invited you tonight, and you can arrange to have a 3-way call with her or just a 2-way, just you and her, if that's more comfortable. But we're here to help you guys, and we just appreciate your time, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for being here, you guys. I hope you found it to be helpful. Definitely let us know if we can help in any way. And like Katie said, get with the person who invited you if you have anything else that you want to connect on, okay? Okay, thanks. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.